I hear it.
Well, you've got to think, what do you want from your training? Why are you doing your ladder drills?
Because we were told to.
We were told to,
Yeah.
I was told, here's a ladder,
Isn't it?
do your
Do it,
OTs,
yeah.
do 1 step in, 2 foot in, hop. Do you know what I'm like?
And that's
told
the
to.
problem with
Copy
a lot
culture.
of things in football, especially Britball. It's what's always been done.
Yeah.
So we're always going to do it.
Welcome back to another episode of the greatest American football show in the world, the Exs and Os podcast, man.
It's been a while, boy.
It's been a while. It's been a minute.
It has.
It's been a minute.
It has.
It's your boy Jay Solenke. You know how it goes. You've got the voice of reason in the building.
What's going on, people?
How you feeling, bro, man?
I'm alright. It's nice to sit in the seat again.
Yeah.
I won't lie. I'm comfy.
I see you doing some bits with NFL and Georgian sports.
Man, look, I'm NFL obsessed, innit? So like, anyone wants to do some NFL talk, I'm always down. Like, I'm doing pods at 1 a.m, bro. So,
Yeah?
like, it's mad.
Hey, you're booked and busy now,
It's
bro.
mad. It's mad.
Life's
but-
different over there, man.
No, yet, but I'm trying.
We also have been doing a lot of groundwork. We've heard people making noise. We've been listening to the voices of the streets. So we've added some people to the roster. One of them's here with us today. The First Lady.
Come on.
Talk to us. Introduce yourself. You've been on here before, but talk to us, man.
Yeah, I'm back with a bang. Shay Eklela. Guys want to know about me? Tight end for the London Warriors.
Come on.
Give them.
Great Britain, come on.
Yeah,
GB.
GB.
Come on.
Come on, we're out here. Doing bits. No, but thanks. No, I'm excited to be back. Excited to be first.
And staying as well, man. Not
Yeah.
just back, you're staying. You have
Can't
to
get
stay.
rid of me.
That's it,
And
man.
we should see the likes of Vanessa and Chloe at some point as well. So there'll be a lot more coming. But it's good to have you on board. So welcome.
Thank you.
And our special guest today, we'll start with my immediate left. London Blitz, lifer,
I try, innit, bro. I try.
Birkan. Talk to us, man. How you doing? How you feeling? For those that don't know who you are you?
So yeah, I'm Birkan. I play, as you know, a linebacker now. Play for Blitz. Well, I'm out for 2 years, but you gotta just make do.
Yeah, man.
And yeah, man, on the road to recovery now, innit?
Yeah, we'll definitely touch on that injury a lot more. And to the left of Birkan, we have Coach Louis of Oslo Performance. For those that don't know who you are you? How you doing?
Well, I'm Louis. I run my own personal training and strength and conditioning company called Oswald Performance. I also assist with the Dynamic Sports Academy. And I just love American football. I love contact sports, and I love working with athletes. So that's who I am.
I hear it, man. I think we need to start with the elephant in the room. I'm sure some of you can see the leg. So Birkan, a lot of us have had injuries, but I don't think many people would have had an injury as severe as yours. So talk to us. How did this happen, and how are you feeling now? To be fair, more than anything.
I'm feeling better now. But how it started was training session. We were doing blue versus white, just good block. It was literally a split-second thing.
Yeah.
No one decided to, foul, go into a really bad tackle. It was just getting blocked. One decision, half a second on one leg, and boom, gone.
So what is it? What is the actual injury?
So originally, once it happened, I had a grade 3 MCL tear, which they thought was so bad that it was a full rupture as well. ACL rupture. And meniscus damage, and there was collision with the bones on the outside, so that bruised it. They called it a fracture, but it was a bruise on the bones. So that took time to heal. But I think I waited for about 3.5 to 4 months for the surgery. Obviously, I had the surgery about 5 weeks ago yesterday. Yeah. So on the recovery, with the helps obviously with Lewis, and I'm just trying to get it back, man. Just trying to, it's the simple things that I miss, bro. Yeah. It's the simple things I miss. Just walking, for God's sake, just miss that. I was doing one of the exercises he showed me. Is the simplest thing is literally just, when you tense your quad. Yeah. I've never looked at my quad and gone, all right, tense. No, it's not really. It's not tense.
It's like in Kill Bill when she's like, wiggle your big toe.
Yeah.
Wiggle your big toe.
It's the weirdest experience, man, and it was frustrating at times, down at times, but yeah, no, I'm on the mend, so I'm in a better place. better place.
How do you get yourself to be sort of like in a space where you are? Because me personally, touch wood and thank God, I haven't had an injury as severe as yours, but even a little injury sometimes that take you out of a big game.
Yeah.
For me personally, and I'm like, damn, like how am I missing that game? Like out of all games, but like I'm spoiled because that's what 1 or 2 games you've missed. You're gonna miss 2 seasons essentially. How do you sort of keep yourself mentally in a place where it's like, you know, I'm good, like I'm on a road to recovery and things are gonna be all right?
Not gonna lie to you, help really. At the beginning it was down, very down. I think the first week and a half to 2, my girlfriend will vouch for it, and also Lewis, actually I spoke to him quite a lot for it. And bro, there was a point where I thought that is it, done. I'm not coming back, because I thought it was that bad, that gone. I was like, what's the point? I was like, when I come back I'm gonna be 27, no, probably 28 actually, you know, thinking about it. God. But then it's like I missed my prime and all this stuff. I was like, is there any point? And it got to a point where I was depressed because my life was pretty much work, socialize a little bit, but then it's gym, American football.
And I can vouch for that, man. I was saying obviously off camera that before the injury you were flying, man. Obviously you had made a transition from safety to linebacker, and anyone that has you on social media would have seen that you're putting in the work at practice. You were going in, like you're taken to linebacker like a duck to water sort of thing. So I can definitely vouch that you're putting in the hours. So, bro,
that's what hurt the most. I put in so much hours into it. The program that I was on was just unreal. Like it put me into the position where I could be the best self, like best linebacker I can be, and it just hurt when that happened because I thought I'd done everything right. I've done everything right. How can this happen?
For me, I remember being at the training session when it happened, and someone had gone down before you, Muz, running back. And
yes.
He just went down like someone had pushed him, and I was like, what are you doing, bro? Like, get up, we're doing drills. I was like, no, I can't. I was like, bro, what are you doing? Just get up. And everyone he tore his Achilles, which is not the one, but anyone who's had that done describes it as being kicked in the back of their leg or something similar to that. And I was just like, what even happened, bro? But this is the season where we've been removed for about nearly 2 years. Yeah. So, I mean, if you look at what happened in the NFL, guys were just dropping like flies. So it almost kind of happened, unfortunately, you being one of them people in Britball. And when you went down, at first, because I was on the other side of the field, I think, with the offense, and you was obviously with the defense, and I just remember seeing you on the floor, and I was like, he'll get up in a minute. Then something clicked, and I heard a sound. I was like, what's that sound? And I heard him screaming. I was like, wow, yeah, this is bad. That's when I knew, like, damn, like, is this what the season's going to be like? Because like you, like what you were saying, everyone was ready to go. Like, I think for me, I had just joined the team. And I was like head in the playbook. I knew everything. Everything was going swimmingly, like perfect. And then guys start going down like flies. And then the next thing is we leave a training session and they're like, yeah, don't come back next Sunday. I was like, what are you talking about?
No,
like, this was March, I think, April. Yeah. They was like, no, don't come back next Sunday. We don't know if it's gonna continue. And then in comes COVID. But Solanke asked how you deal with it, how you have been dealing with it, and how you are now. I remember just not having the consistency of ball because of the situation. That was enough for me. Was like enough to be like, oh man, this is hard. So hearing you say, obviously you've been speaking to Louis, Coach Louis, and your girlfriend to get through it, and how do you feel in terms of when you I guess came to terms with the injury, because it's not minor by any stretch of the means. And when you see a lot of guys wearing the braces, a lot of it is for support, but when you're actually having to do it because you can't even, I mean, you mentioned you can't even tense your quad muscle. That for me is mad. I can't sit here and tell you like that I can't tense my leg without the response. So from where you were to where you are now, like how would you describe that process, both mentally and I guess physically?
It's more of a just, the process is trusting yourself and trusting the program that I'm on. That is a process. It was that I'm surrounded by people that are trying to get me to where I need to be getting to. Like there was no worry. I had no like, am I going to be able to get back? Obviously, originally when it happened, obviously everything runs through your mind. Yeah. But from that point on, I was like, nah. Like I've seen loads of people come back from this. Like as in not in obviously in Bafa, but I've seen it in everywhere around the world. Like people destroy their knees and come back. And people in the NFL don't have ACLs and still play. So I'm coming from like, and I was like, nah, man, I can come back. Like it's a mental thing of trust my body to get back. God forbid happens again, then happens again. I can't judge that. Like I can't stop that.
Yeah.
I did everything right last
Yeah.
time, and
Yeah.
it went wrong.
Yeah.
I could have stepped off a curb and it could have happened. Like,
Yeah,
what am I going to do?
100%.
Not walking again? Like, it's just, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. I'm going to do everything to mitigate that. But, bro, I just come to terms of there's a plan and I have to stick to it. And it dawned on me during these 5 weeks, actually, that sticking to that plan and just doing what I need to be doing, even though how boring it is. Like my physio sessions are boring, man.
You've gone back to basics almost.
Back to basics, genuinely. Like it is raising your heel from when flat on the ground, then making your leg go as flat as possible, like straight as possible. Then it's activating your quad. They're not exciting stuff.
No.
Painful stuff, not exciting stuff, but stuff that I need to get done.
Yeah.
And it's like I have to do it 3 times a day every day.
Wow.
And it's one of those ones of, if I don't, I know that it's just going to cause issues, and get it done now, build the foundation now. Like Oswald put me on that program before my surgery to literally prep me for this rehab.
Right.
Okay.
So he made sure that he got me doing all the things that I need to be doing to help support the rehab now. And I've got a feeling if I didn't, doing all this would have been hard, because the doctors told me 6 weeks, don't walk on it as a 50%, partly because of the meniscus repair. But they said, however, it will take you around 6 weeks, maybe more, to kind of straighten your leg. They're like, so make sure you work on straightening your leg.
To straighten your leg.
Just to straighten, to get 0 degrees flexion. Extension, sorry. Did it in 3.5 weeks. And I was there like,
What next?
bro, I was like, cool, let's go.
Yeah.
But the only thing that's stopping me now is only the fact that there's still stitches in my meniscus.
Okay.
And that is the only thing. So, like, we're ready to go into the next stage. And it's like, I'm just waiting for that 6 week marks to go, okay, cool. They're repaired now. Let's go. Like, the only thing that will stop me is pain. And then I'll just keep going. But yeah, bro, like, that's the mentality. Keep going forward. I can't be looking back at it now.
Louis, I'm assuming you've come across all kinds of athletes who have gone through all kinds of injuries, and obviously Birkan is an example where you've managed to pre-prep him and a post-prep and looking after him now that he needs to rehab and recover. What are some of the things that you see maybe that stand out all too often, or for use of a better way, what are some of the things you think athletes could do better to avoid? I mean, if you can't necessarily avoid an ACL, say if you get hit and you're unlucky, that does happen, but things like mobility, I mean, a lot of people in this sport or any kind of sport don't really take things like that into consideration. Like, you know, we fly around the pitch at 100 miles an hour and we're crashing helmets and shoulder pads all day long, and then we walk off at the end of the pitch and go home. We don't cool down. I say we don't. Some people do, some people don't. You know who you are. But like cooling down and just things that we should be taking into consideration to avoid worst case scenarios.
Well, first things first, I love the way Birkan's kind of adapted his mindset on an injury, because I say it to everyone, and I think you mentioned Mus.
Yeah.
Is that Mustafa?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Running back.
I'm actually working with him as well.
Right. Okay.
And essentially, I tell them the injury doesn't define you. You were injured, but you're not injured. And you have to realize that just because you're hurt, life doesn't stop. Like, imagine you just thought, well, I've broken my leg, I'm just going to wait here. Like, what are you actually doing?
You'd be waiting a long time.
That's what you see. A common trend among many athletes is they get hurt and then they avoid all movement because they think if I leave it, it'll heal and then I can come back. Yeah, you'll stop feeling the pain, and yeah, it might heal to an extent, but you haven't strengthened it, you haven't done anything. So you're not feeling that instant shock, that instant jolt of, oh, that hurts. But come a couple of sessions or a couple of training sessions, you're going to feel something and you probably re-injure yourself because you haven't done that groundwork. You haven't gone and trained anything. You haven't improved. And everyone always avoids training when they're hurt.
Yeah.
And I reached out to another coach because Birkan, when he got injured, I had a state of anxiety because I was like, I've never done this before. So I'm going to try and selfishly, I want to rehab someone to see if I can do it.
Right.
But I want that person to believe in me. And luckily I was working with Birkan before that, and he'd bought into the program and he understood like everything we've done prior to this injury worked.
Right.
So I don't see a reason why. And that first week was difficult because I was dealing with my anxieties and having to aid
Yeah.
Birkan on sort of the deep depression of, that's it, I'm done. It's like, I've programmed you some upper body lifts. Like, you may not be able to walk or do anything, but you can still move your arms. And as I reached out to this other coach, he said, he has a heart, he has lungs. You need to train those. And everyone always thinks, well, my ankle's injured, my knee's injured, my shoulder's injured. I'm not gonna do anything.
Yeah.
And it's like, actually, no. I've got another athlete right now. They may have a fracture in their hand, but they're still doing cleans and everything, but on one side.
Right.
So everything is just kind of, it's appropriate for that person, but we're still doing the training. We're still getting the response we want from that training. And like you said, do people train properly? No. It's athletes don't tend to train properly. And you do see it. You see everyone picking up generic strength programs. They'll jump on powerlifting programs. They'll jump on bodybuilding programs. These are fine depending on how far you're out of your sport. But as you get closer and even in season, what are you actually doing?
Yeah.
And this stuff, because it's about load management, and that's often why injuries happen, is you've managed your load in a wrong way. You've done too much of something, and now that muscle or that ligament, that tendon has just gone, we can't handle any more of this. You need to dose it appropriately. And as you get into season, everything starts to dial up, and then you drop it back down. Because now you're in your sport. That's where all of your sort of contacts and everything are.
I have heard that a lot, actually, in terms of, and Shay, I'm going to come to you next as well, in terms of what you're doing pre-season and then in-season and post-season, because I think the lines get confused quite a bit. And I'm not an expert on this, but I know, for example, like doing max lifts isn't necessarily ideal in season or max. I mean, again, I don't know.
To an extent.
To a degree, yeah. But Shay, London Warriors, right? I'm going to assume you've had your fair share of injuries. We spoke earlier. When you play the sport, I don't think anybody has a choice. I don't know one. It's not possible. I don't know one person who is.
Break.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like Selinga said, I've never broken anything. Maybe I've had I've never done anything too serious. But have you had any injuries, or be it minor or major, that affect you and affect your game in a type of way? Because when you play the sport, it takes up a lot of your time, for one. It occupies your mind in working out and learning plays and everything that goes with it. It becomes a huge part of your life. So when you're hurt, you can't necessarily give it your all. So tell us about any kind of injuries you've had, or how and if they have impacted you in any kind of way.
Yeah, I'm always injured.
There you
to
go.
a degree. But I've never, touch wood, had like I had one serious injury. Like you, it was in training. I don't know what happened. I just did a cut and I heard a snap.
Wow.
And I was like, it's a bone, I'm dead. Lay on the ground, I'm dead. And I looked and it wasn't a bone, like it was a tear, but at that time I'd never had an injury. So I'm like, I'm gonna die here on the field. I'm finished. They're gonna have to come and collect me. But yeah, once they were like, okay, it's not broke. There's no bone, Shay, get up. I was like, okay.
I'm alive.
But I was out for a few weeks. I missed a game. I was fuming. Luckily for me, that game got cancelled. So when it got cancelled, secretly I was like, good, because I'm not there. Play. No one should play if I'm not there. But before that, I was like, like I learned all my plays. I was ready. Like I know how the day's gonna go. And then in the blink of an eye, you're like, what do I do with myself? Do I keep like learning these plays? Now I've got to add recovery, and is my recovery I feel like men's and women's are different. Men, you have like people like Louis who will give you all of this information. We kind of just have the generic, well, you need to be strong because that as a player, as a football player, you have to be strong. But I'm actually a woman as well. They're not adding in the facts that I can't just go and be powerlifting. What am I lifting? I'm gonna be in the gym hench for no reason, for a sport that it doesn't require that. It's more mental than it is physical. And I feel like with the men, the physical part is like exaggerated a bit, whereas the women's part, it's like yeah, just go in the gym and lift weights. And, and it's like, okay, what about my feet? What about how I move my ankle? From that injury, I then realized that I'm very dainty. I am very dainty. So I now have to work on how I position myself in terms of footwork. I'm offense, so I need to know, okay, I might not need my strength here, but I need to be able to be agile enough to get around these players. And I'm already a strong player. So where's the leave the strong side, use your agility? We don't get that kind of conversation. So it's literally a learning curve. At the Warriors, we are very focused on it because we realized that quite early on. So where we would be doing all these strength things, we're like, actually, what about your stamina? Because after you've hit the person, you have to run the field. Nobody gave me the warning that the running is real. Like, I'm just running for Christ at this point. Like, I'm like, this is too much. Now we've understood that it's better, but that's because we had to understand that, not because someone came and told us. We, like, you guys know the Warrior Men, they have a very strict regime. We try to follow that. That doesn't work for me. It's very scary as well. What's the meaning? So we, like, adapting we don't get as injured as well. You lot get injured quite a lot. I get it. There's more men on the field. It's also more pride. We actually go out there. We don't have the mindset of hitting people. We have the mindset of having a good game and getting the job done. Go on the field and do your job, as opposed to, if it's not working, just obliterate. Full throttle every man for themselves.
I can definitely tell you in the men's game, there are some coaches out there that will tell you, I would just want you to go and hurt the opposition. Whereas it sounds like it's the complete opposite over you guys. It's more a case of just do your job and win the game. You don't need to physically hurt someone. If you make a good block and they get hurt, then by all means. But exactly that. But over here, some people just want to hurt people. And you're right, because I tend to see a lot of the Warriors women in particular. You guys are doing the skipping, you're also in the gym, but then you're doing the footwork stuff as well. So you're right. I think there is definitely an element of lifting, but also doing the fundamentals right. But you mentioned something about not having the knowledge of how to apply what you do in the gym and your workouts to football, and that's why I want to come to you. Is there a miscommunication there? Are
for
there
women
athletes that should be?
Well, I got my first female client a couple months ago, and she's awesome because she just tackles anything. I throw stuff at her and she's like, okay, I'll try that. And I'm amazed at how she moves. And it's actually something you see a lot in women's sports, because I used to watch a lot of golf with my dad, and he said, if you watch the men, they just swing the club, like power of the club. Like Rory McIlroy is known for an absolute drive, and it all comes from his hips and just powering. But if you watch the women's game, everyone is like technique, like textbook technique. And I feel like it's probably a lot in many women's sports, especially women's contact sports. Tackling's probably a lot cleaner, because actually rather than being the heavy hitters, they want to be able to do it well. And a lot of men could probably learn from women's sports by saying, actually, I'm going to take some time and watch some women's sport, because I want to see how they do this, how they cope through this sort of adversity. What do they do different? Because the speed of the game will be slightly slower. The physicality is slightly less, but the technique is probably a lot higher in many cases. And in regards to training, you said you get given a program and that sort of thing. Yeah, I've heard a female coach say, don't do your boyfriend's strength program, because we don't have to deal with one glaringly obvious thing, the menstrual cycle. And that a lot of coaches don't consider menstrual cycle when applying strength programs. They'll have people going for run rep maxes when they're in the middle of the luteal phase. And you just think, that's what's going on here? And then the person comes in fatigued, and actually during that time, women are more susceptible to knee and hip injuries. As we know, females' hips are designed different, obviously babies and that sort of thing. So then their knees are a bit more in compared to men. So they can get ACL and MCL injuries, they're higher rates. And during their periods, this is when they can get more hurt. So that's when your training should actually come down And the week just after is probably when you should peak, because that's the best week, because everyone's just like, yeah, this is it, I'm back.
feeling fresh,
And then
I don't think I've heard like the strength and conditioning coach ever actually take something like that into consideration.
Yeah.
And that is a
There you
big
go.
point.
So-
And
Like,
being hit on your period it's not cute. Like, your whole body will vibrate. You're like, okay.
it's important because it's
that's
real.
important
It's what's
knowledge, man.
happening. And coming back to you again, Coach Lee, so I want to talk about some misconceptions of strength and conditioning, right? Because I'm sure you hear the term strength and conditioning over and over and over again. And I hear it just used in so many different ways, shapes and forms. I want to go all the way back to the real basics, right? And then I want to ask you about how, whether you approach clients or clients approach you, if there's a common theme that you always see in your clients at the start before you then have to tweak things because they're doing something wrong they found on YouTube or Google. So strength and conditioning, essentially, what is strength and conditioning?
True.
Yeah.
Because, listen, yeah,
That's actually very true.
I get it, but I also don't get it because it's used in so many ways. And I love probably there'll be another coach who might have a different opinion to you because there's so many variations. So just give us give us the flat line.
Well, I'm a simple man, so I like simple things. And strength and conditioning is exactly what it says. You improve your strength and you improve your conditioning, and you need both in sports. If you're a strength athlete, so powerlifter, Olympic lifter, strongman probably less so, but you need to have absolute strength, and that should be your goal for chasing. Strongman is because of the fact that you need to be strong, but you do need to have an element of conditioning because they have to carry stuff long distances and that sort of thing. Conditioning for a lot of sports is because many sports are aerobic energy systems. Aerobic is just with oxygen.
Yeah.
So actually what we're doing right now could be considered aerobic. It's not very active, but it's still aerobic.
It counts.
And then you've got anaerobic, which is just you run off the quick energy, like your creatine phosphate system, which is up to 6 seconds of energy. This is where American football falls in line, is that energy system. Because if you look at the average plays, I mean, it'd be brilliant to do an assessment of BAFA average plays because all the research points at NFL and even college. But the average NFL play lasts about 4 seconds. So if you're going out and thinking, I'm going to do some conditioning, I'm going to go run 5K today. It's like, okay, cool. But when are you running 5K? Like, you're probably not even going to run 5K in the season.
Yeah.
Like, let alone, and I'm talking I'm talking about even like combine your practices and your game. If you had, it'd be amazing to put a GPS on someone and actually say, look, how many yards did you actually cover in a season? There'd be some positions that might not even total 5K over the whole.
That is mad.
I'd love to see that.
I
man.
might try and do
I
that.
was just going to
That's-
say, all it takes is a
That
little
is mad.
tracker.
And and it's unfortunate, and this is why being in the self-employed route is a bit difficult, because when you're at a professional establishment, you can go, can you order me some of these GPS systems or an accelerometer or some kind of device that I can track stuff. I don't have the luxury of that. I mean, the most basic thing I have to record a force velocity curve is a medicine ball, and literally 3 medicine balls, you throw one and then you measure the distance and then you can plot it on a graph and it can tell you, oh yeah, you're getting stronger based on our training. That's working great.
Right.
But yeah, it's essentially strength and conditioning is just improving your strength, your sport or your activity, and your conditioning based on the energy systems you need. That's not to say that you can't build an aerobic base, but it will be built differently compared to what some people do. You'll get like wide receivers going out on marathons, half marathons, and you think that's doing nothing for your sport. It's steady state. Your sport is so jolty.
Yeah, it is. It's
Stop, start.
It is, yeah. Because when I speak to people, sometimes they go, "Oh, American football, they stop every 5 seconds." I was like, "Yeah, but you don't understand. You need to be on the pitch. You need to be actively playing to understand what's happening in those 4 or 5 seconds. Because in those 4 or 5 seconds, it's trench warfare. Like, if you are not butting heads, not intentionally, but it happens. You're not butting heads, or you're not sprinting down the field, or trying to chase someone, or trying to stiff arm someone, or something is happening.
In those 4 seconds, a lot is happening.
Bro,
A lot. It's a lot.
Honestly.
It is a lot. And then you times that by how many times you snap the ball. By the time at the end of the game, literally every down, by the time the game ends, I can't tell you how many times, like, I've been playing a game, something has happened, it doesn't feel right, but adrenaline is taken over at this point. And then the game ends, and all of a sudden, my limbs just are non-existent. Like,
mine is when I get out of the car, so I'll drive to the game. Something might have happened during the game. I play through the whole game. After the game, I'm fine. Get in the car, I'm fine. Get home, I'm like, damn, where did all of this pain come from? Like, what's happened?
It's because you've been sitting down for so long. It's now kicking in. You're
exactly
like, oh.
that.
And that's the other thing is you've got the energy. So you've got that 4 seconds in a play. But in a game, you might get up to about 50, 60 plays.
Yeah.
So essentially, you're doing max effort 60 times.
Yeah.
And that's not even including hurry up offenses.
Oh, man, don't even
Bro,
start.
that kills me.
Yeah.
Honestly, I hate it.
Hurry up offenses are horrible.
So as an American football athlete, how do we train? Because like Shay, when he said like the 5K, I was like, because all of lockdown, I was running 5Ks. I was like, yo, like,
I was doing 10K.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? I was thinking this is gonna make me better, but if you're telling me that doing that is not wrong, but like I don't need to be doing that to play football. How does one condition to be an American football player?
Well, during lockdown when nothing was going on and things were just unquestioned, like tons of doubt if we'd ever get back to anything.
Yeah.
I'd say running a 5K at that time was probably good because it's something different. It was something different because it's good to train outside of your sport and because then your body, it's a whole new stimulus. It's like, oh, what the hell is this going on?
Yeah.
And
Exactly
actually you can build more muscle because if you build your aerobic capacity, you can build more muscle because you've got more oxygen and that sort of thing. So yeah, you do want to increase your aerobic capacity to an extent, and it's good to do different stuff. That's why in the off season, sometimes didn't do it this off season because I was like, I want to get people straight in. Yeah. But sometimes I just go, right, let's do, I don't know, some CrossFit stuff. It's obviously not CrossFit because I think CrossFit's a bit poo. But
ooh, hot take.
But
there's a lot of CrossFit fans out there.
But it's something different to what they're used to. Or even, don't even go into the weight room, get outside, go for a walk, go for a cycle, go swimming, do something that you wouldn't usually do. Because then you become a beginner again. You have to relearn skills. And now your body's, because that's the issue with the body is it likes doing nothing. Like, I am lazy as hell, and I love that we're sitting down right now. This is my favourite position, and I'm just sort of going, if we had to stand up to do this podcast, I'd hate it. Or if we had to walk around or something. But the body likes to just do nothing. If you shock it into doing something, it's like, right, okay, we're prepped. We're ready for this. Yeah. We're ready for this activity. If you constantly stimulate with that same activity, it's like, okay, we know what's coming. But then if you throw a spanner in the works, like the odd 1K, you'd be like, oh, this is something different. And then you could get the residual effects of that one stimuli. So how to train, depending how far out of the season you are. The closer to season, you want to have more short distance sprints. Okay. So if you're a lineman, you're looking at 3 to 10 meter sprints. If you're the further away from the ball, you want to look at longer. Right. But you're still looking at maybe 40, 50 meters, if that.
Free gems, guys. Free gems.
So, yeah, and if you're training speed, depending on what you're actually training, if you want to train speed, you need to rest appropriately.
I was gonna say that's a big thing actually.
Yeah, everyone takes rest as this thing that's just done, but there is a reason. There's a rationale to why you rest. You need to restore your energy systems. If you're training aerobic capacity with sprints, you can just do repeated sprints, rest around 5 to 10 seconds per 10 meters. If you want to train speed, you're looking at about 30 to 60 seconds per 10 meters because you want to get full rest to go again. I mean, I read Charlie Francis, he was the coach of Ben Johnson, and essentially he would have him doing 400 meter sprints in one session, but they'd have up to 25 minutes between
So
But
effort.
it makes
it's
sense
optimal.
because then you can go again.
Yeah.
Like, I want to touch on that as well, but before I come back to misconceptions, I want to throw a curveball slightly. So we had Coach Sam Portland on. Obviously, he trained some of the guys that have made it to. Yeah, you know where I'm going, innit? Some of the guys like Glenn and David, who's now in the CFL.
Yeah.
And we had him on the show, and one of the things that he said, which is contrary to what everybody else says, is quick feet doesn't eat. Everyone always says that slow feet don't eat, but he said quick feet. And there was a bit of a reaction because people were like, what are you talking about? Like, and what he was referring to was doing ladder drills and things like that. What is your take?
Well, it's why I pay Sam to be my mentor.
Wow, okay, you were ready.
A lot of, so me and Sam, we've had a few conversations on phone. We've not met each other in person. I'm meaning to go down, so at some point I'm going to go and see. I know he's just bought a new house and everything, and he's doing all that stuff. But yeah, I agree. A lot of these ladder drills, cone drills, an absolute waste of time.
Wow. Do you know what? It's crazy because that's
I've been
obviously
doing these
you're
things
both.
all my
I was
career,
about to
man.
say.
You tell me now, after the years of suffering.
Yeah, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's an absolute waste of time.
Wow.
And the reason is, just think about how you move on the field, how you sprint, how you run, how you change direction. Now think about what you do when you run in a ladder.
Yeah, you're doing quick pitty patty feet.
You're changing your running gait.
Argue that the
I
ladder
hear-
stuff is like for mental and hand-eye coordination. I think
So-
rather than
Ladders, I use ladders in a rehab setting. So I'll be using ladders with Birkan at some point because it's about coordination. I use ladders for kids because kids, especially at ages of 6 to 11, and then through puberty as well.
Yeah.
Like once you've got a 11-year-old who's grown quite big, but then goes through
Growing
another
pains,
growth
yeah.
spurt, they're all gangly, they've got no
Yeah.
control of their limbs. And we'd see it at DSA, a kid will come in and be like, and you watch them squat and stuff like that, and you just think, we need to get you just moving. And ladders are great for that, relearning how to actually walk and move and being coordinated. But
Birkan,
for
this is
running,
you
for
when you're-
being
Yeah, I know. That's
but for getting faster, for change of direction, for agility, pointless. Like, think of it as the basement level of the CEO company. You're not going to have the CEO have his office on the basement level. He's not going to have everyone walking into his office. He's at the top, so you've got to go through all the levels to get to him, and there's going to be fewer people there. At the basement level, here's the entrance level, here's how we're moving, let's do this. But as we get higher, you should move away from that modality of training. But that being said, and this is why a lot of my social media, I get attacked for saying a lot of stuff, because I am very polarizing, and it's what drives the algorithm. You have to do
play
it.
the game, man.
Yeah.
But essentially, I explained there's caveats to everything, and there is nuance. Not everything in like it's not black and white. There's tons of grey, because one person could benefit from doing ladder drills, but based on the majority of people, we have to go with the majority because actually we're wasting our time. There's much better low-hanging fruit than this.
What are they? Let's talk about them. Now that we know that we've been doing it wrong.
Yeah, what are they?
What's the next level? I'm trying to get to the CEO.
Well,
What's up?
I hear it.
Well, you've got to think, what do you want from your training? Why are you doing your ladder drills?
Because we were told to.
We were told to.
we were told to, yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I was told, here's a ladder,
Isn't it?
do your
Do it,
Okies,
yeah.
do 1 step in, 2 feet in, hop. Do you know what I'm like?
Yeah.
And that's
told
the
to.
problem with
Copy
a lot
culture.
of things in football, especially Britball. It's what's always been done.
Yeah.
So we're always going to do it. When I wrote my dissertation, it was about tackling in American football, and I was analysing sort of peak like impact force, and looking at the research based on tackling in American football. There's no one method of learning how to tackle. Go to rugby. There's a book. It will teach you how to get into the positions. Go to even soccer. It tells you how to tackle, like a slide tackle or a body tackle. American football, there's nothing. And it's all based on the philosophy of the coach what the coach believes is the best way. That's why you get that biting of the ball, the heads on the numbers,
in the body.
all that sort of tackling methodology.
Yeah.
But then it's the same with these training. No one's prepared to go out and do something that goes against the belief,
Massively.
the status quo.
Yeah.
Because if they do that and someone gets hurt, or if someone loses, they get fired.
Yeah.
And that's why everyone does the same thing, because it's safe. If we get our players, and even the pro guys, you're getting pro athletes with multi-$100 million contracts running through ladders, and you just think, what are you doing, man?
I'm glad you said that, because people will probably listen to this and think it just relates to brickball, but it's generic. Like anyone that plays the sport.
The thing that I remember I questioned was, when would you ever do those kind of footwork movements in a game? Like, think about it, right?
Yeah.
I have never in my life, while playing, thought I'm going to go quick 1-2 step. Like, it'll be happening where, you know, you would have to quickly change and you have to quick feet to kind of go bounce and move.
Change direction.
Fair enough. But I've never thought I've applied a ladder drill to a real game. Like, I don't think it's ever happened.
I know what
like,
you mean, yeah.
Thinking about it, the only time that I think I ever, like, think about, as a running back, I used to play, you jump cut, right?
Yeah.
When do you ever do that in a ladder drill?
Yeah. You have a point.
I've never realised till now, guys put me. I'm just like, oh, when did I?
Yeah.
And the other thing that is another elephant in the room. Think of the length of a ladder. You're looking at about, let's say, 5 to 12 meters, depending on which company you go with. Okay, 5 to 12 meters, we're looking at about 8 to 15 yards.
Yeah.
In a game, we've just spoken about the time it takes, the average play, 4 seconds, right? 4 seconds, you're going to cover that distance, maybe more. Like, especially if you're a wide out, you're probably all the way in the end zone.
Yeah.
You've run your full route. But there, you're still standing in the same spot. You've not gone anywhere.
Yeah.
You're shuffling. You've done about 600 steps and you've moved about 2 meters.
Yeah. When you put it like that,
Like, what are we training here? We're wasting our time. We could go out. We could start a warm-up and then get the guys at training doing short sprints.
Yeah.
And now we've moved. We've stimulated the CNS. We're ready for speed and we can go out and have our training.
Bearing in mind, in those short 4 or 5, however many seconds, you're also thinking about the guy that's about to light you up and where the plays go in and the coverage and everything else at the same time. So when you put it like that, it's actually,
I'm actually
really
in shock, man.
Right, yeah. It's because I've been lied to for how many years of my lives. That's what it is.
Yeah,
It's actually...
and they nickname it, so it's speed ladders. Then it's changed its name to agility ladders.
Yeah.
It's still not agility. Agility is reacting to an external stimuli. If I was to run up to you right now, you'd either stand still or you'd move to try and move out, or you'd hit me. But that's reacting. You've shown that you're agile. A cat is agile because they're reacting, they're jumping, and then they're having to react. That's agility. A ladder is on the floor. It's not moving anywhere.
The more I hear this talk,
You're the one dancing around and doing all of this. Meanwhile, if the ladder had personality, which it doesn't, it would be like, what is this guy doing?
Yeah.
Like, use me to climb up a wall, or actually use me for my process.
I think you're right in the sense that people, there's a lot of, I guess, afraid to change the status quo, especially in Britball. It's been the same thing has happened for God knows how many years, even way before me, and it's still the same now. Will it ever change? I can't lie to you. I have no idea.
I don't think it will.
I don't think it will.
I can tell you firsthand as a coach, before the Sam Portland episode,
Yeah.
I was getting my guys to do the ladder stuff. Man. I'm not gonna lie, and you're right. I didn't know any better. I just thought, we're warming up. I've always known as part of your warm up, you get the ladders out. So when I was at City Wolfpack, I'd get the ladders out, defense, 1 foot, 2 foot, whatever the routine is. Let's just do it, and then that was just normal. But now, since the Portland episode, I'm at Brunel now. I've never had my guys go through ladders, and it's because you're right that I want them to start learning things that they're going to implement in the game. I want them to put themselves in game time situations whilst they're warming up, whilst they're doing their pre-practices and install. So yeah, it's mind-boggling, and you putting it like that just makes me think what an idiot I was, because you're right, I didn't do no research. I researched how to get the guys to practice in their positions, but warm-ups and that, I didn't research it because it's something that I've always known to do, and I just thought, if that coach has taught me to do it,
that's
then
it, yeah.
I'm just
You go by what you know. Like,
Yeah.
that's the way it's been.
And that's what they know, and
Yeah.
so on. But it's go to any Brit Ball, and I'm sure
there's
go
like
to
this
other
somewhere.
countries. Go to any training. What happens before training? Everyone's got balls out. You've got a couple of guys thinking they're quarterbacks launching balls. You've got people thinking they're wide outs and catching balls and pretending they're DBs and that sort of thing. That happens before the training session. So actually they're getting more training stimuli from
that. You're
just
right,
having
man.
fun.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's true.
And then you've brought them back down to a stationary position to dance around in like a small
It's
vicinity.
very, very true.
They've
It's
just done all of that active stuff.
triggering.
But who's gonna? So, I hear what you're saying, and it makes complete sense. For me personally, I would not be telling my coach that it's wrong. I'm not about to.
I'm starting
trying
to get drafted.
whatever you say, good. But like, who is it? If we were going to change the minds of the big coaches, who is it that is supposed to say it? Is like the strength and conditioning team? Is it like physio? Who is it that has? Because they're not going to listen to players. My coach isn't going to tell me. Like, he's not going to. For him to tell me his stats, look how long I've been here. You want to come and
I've been playing this sport for how long?
Yeah, that's the issue.
Yeah.
That is the issue.
So who is it that has to be the one to change?
Well, at an amateur level, coaches are going to control their practices. So it's going to be difficult to implement that, especially when you've got TA and running sessions. But essentially, yeah, if teams can get someone on board who's either a physio or an S&C consultant or something to just say, look, maybe perhaps try running these sessions, because I reach out to team coaches. I say, look, I'd love to work some of your guys, help them out, maybe even implement some warm-ups for your team. Because that's another issue with BAFA is go to any game day and everyone's doing like 30, 45 minute warm-ups and you're sweating.
I'm so glad.
We stopped doing that.
But do you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna say I'm so glad you have said what you've said, because I am that guy, right? I think 11 years I've been playing, right? I do not want to turn up and be sweating profusely because I've been doing every single drill in the warm-up before we actually go and train. I'm just not that guy. I would rather turn up and do the minimum. Obviously, you have to do certain things.
We warm up, but there's some things, like you say,
bro, it's too. Sometimes it's too much.
The whole training warm up routine you're doing on a game day, and it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it could be a workout in itself. Like it could be a mobility day. I would, if anything, some teams I've watched their warm ups, and you could implement their warm up as a sort of low contact day and still get a training stimulus from it.
So glad
you just think
I'm so glad. I've never heard anybody say it aside
the
from
worst,
players.
I hate it, because the worst is we've done the warm up now and I'm on the sideline and I can feel the switch. I'm why am I sweating already? Like,
I haven't even played the game yet.
And you're like heavily breathing. You're just like, is this my life? I'm about to go to a full
and
game
I start
now.
thinking I'm the bad one. Like, why am I not fit enough? But no, because I've been working out for the last 45 minutes.
That being said, as a sort of lifer on the bench, I loved it because it was a proper day out. I felt as if I was part of the team. I got some action. I actually sweated. My uniform smelled.
You guys.
I was like, this is it. This is my game day. So I was hyped for warm-ups.
Man.
Now looking back at it, some of you guys, some teams just need to drop it down.
Massively.
And I did it at the DSA. I had to speak to them because before we were blessed with 2-hour session. We'd have an hour on the track, hour in the gym, bang. Our warm-ups were like 20, 30 minutes. Now, because from lockdown, we shortened the sessions. So it's 2 1-hour blocks, 30 minutes on the gym, 30 minutes on the track first. So we don't have much time. So we get our warm-ups done in 5 minutes, but then they're sprinting within, I think I've got it down to about 3 minutes now. 3-minute warm-up, bang, we're sprinting, and we can do more actual reps of what we want to do. And it doesn't take long to warm up, and you can even warm up in the skill that you are doing. So why are we spending arrive at 10 o'clock in the morning for a 2 o'clock kickoff.
I'm so
It's like,
glad you said it again. You have said it again.
like,
Boy,
You have said
Don't
what
get
a
me
lot
started,
of people,
man.
a lot of people are thinking. But before we do wrap it up, there's a couple of things that I want to ask the both of you now.
Yeah,
So there are loads of players in this league who have had similar injuries. So from both perspectives, so being the actual the patient and the physio, if you like, what are some of the key things needed to recover from an ACL or MCL kind of injury from both perspectives?
I would start off with you need to get your mindset right, because without that mindset, you're not going to recover. Not at all. Like, I know a couple of players actually that have gone through heavy injuries quite a few times, and they're still going at it, as in they're still resilient to keep going. I know some people that have gone through what I've gone through, and I've never seen them come back. And it's one of those ones of, it's the mindset. Some people are afraid to come back. Some people are like, don't want that again.
Yeah.
So you need to know what you want to come back to be able to start it. And I reckon it takes a lot of, trust in you. You won't be able to do it alone. I strongly believe you won't be able to do it alone. Unless you are physio yourself.
Yeah.
You won't be able to do it alone. That's where obviously your coach will come involved, and they'll provide the other side of it. But for yourself, honestly, it's mindset, man. Like, he opened my eyes to it. It's complete mindset. I'm gonna do what I can do on my side. I will get you to that point where you need to be ready. You just need to trust what I'm going to give you. That is it. And it's one of those ones of, as soon as I'm putting weight on this leg again, there is no way in hell where I'm like, oh, I've got a little pain here, I'm going to stop. No. As in, unless it's that's something's gone wrong here, then obviously. But if he tells me, all right, Birkan, you need to be doing this, I'm doing it.
Okay.
How many times? You have to do it 5 times a day. I'm doing it. Like,
yeah. Can I just, before, because you said mindset, I feel like it's a very vague setting. Like, what tips can you give for the mindset? Because before you even, once you have the mindset, people feel like, once I've told myself I can do it, I can do it, there's other stuff that, like you said, other people around you. So what tips can you give to help the mindset section?
So the tips I can give is, you have to kind of rationalize things in your mind. When you rationalize it, you then can deal with it better. So there's a lot of people that will not know what to do next. There will be a lot of people that, at the beginning, like, I don't know, he can vouch that everything was in my mind, like, gone. You know what I mean? I couldn't control, and the best thing I thought was rationalize it. He made it simple.
It's happened now, so
it's
what's
happened,
next? Yeah.
And now you move on. So the mindset that I'm talking about is, where do you want to be? Before this happened, before the injury happened, where was your goal? What did you want to get to? And I kept that in my mind of going, I wanted to be here. This is what I wanted to get to. Yeah, I've got a setback now, but am I going to stop trying to chase where I wanted to get to? No. And it's just a setback. He's promised me, and he's been telling me, you're going to come back stronger than what you used to be. And people keep on telling me that. And you may not feel it in the time. You really won't. But if you go and believe on what the other people are telling you, and you've got that focus in your mind of, this is where I wanted to get to before this injury, I'm going to do everything I can to get to that. Sometimes plans don't work out. Fair enough. But if you work your ass off to get there, then you're going to achieve something. There's not going to be a point where you don't achieve anything. If you don't do it, if you stop and go, yeah, that's me done, what did you achieve? You've done all that work. You've done all that prep. How many years have you been playing? And then you get one injury, and then what you're going to do? Call it. Because what? Some people's life situations, I get it. 100% get it. But if you can get there, and you haven't got nothing tying you back, make something out of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Achieve something out of it. Don't let it go to waste.
Yeah.
So
did that mindset and trust come from the fact that you guys were working with each other before? Would it have been harder if you just wasn't working with a trainer and just got the injury? Was it a case of, because I've been working with you before, I trust you enough to help me get through this?
100%. I was working with him before, and I knew the type of person he was. I knew the type of coach he was as well. So I knew he never gave me something that wasn't for a purpose. He never gave me something that was just, this is a generic thing, go do this.
Yeah.
Or it wasn't of, you know what, yeah, mine, I'll just go into this program. He listened, he knew my situation, and he cared about me as a player and as a person, and just in that sense, and that's why I knew I could trust him for it. And it's, if you don't have that, obviously if you're looking for someone, a physio, obviously that's when you're going to have to go and do your research on certain people. but then this is where you look to the people around you, look to your friends, look to people that you love, and just go. They will know your mindset. They will know where you want to get to, and they're real ones. They'll focus you on the real way. So I was lucky to have both. So you know, what I mean? So
that's powerful, and I think it's part of the reason why I reached out to you, because a lot of people go through these injuries and either one say I'm never going to come back, and two, they do want to come back, but they're like, how do I come back from it? And to be able to vouch for someone the way you've done for Oswald Performance today, that's massive, because I think there'll be loads of people out there that are going to be like, you know what, I want to get back into this sport. I want to rehab properly, but I don't know where to start. And you can do all the Googles in the world you want to do, but if you haven't got that physical, or if you haven't heard it from someone that's actually going through it, then you're never gonna have that element of trust. So
that's true.
I think it's massive episode today, man.
Yeah, man.
And coach,
I wouldn't lie.
Yeah.
When I was saying
that's why you're. To be fair, like, it works.
I'm always so overwhelmed when I get like someone messaging me going, "Oh, so and so recommended you," and here, and then, or I get screenshots of conversations like athletes I'm working with have had with other people, and I'm just like, this is so weird. Like, I just as someone who's suffered with very low confidence, like this, being in this scenario 5-10 years ago, I would have just shat my pants.
Well,
like,
there you go.
But the fact is, I can sit here and back up what I have, and also just that sort of imposter syndrome. It took just constant nagging of people telling me, you can do this, like, believe in yourself a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's why I feel I have that sort of mentality that sort of helps other athletes, because they see the struggles that I've had, confidence issues, belief in myself, but I now know I can do this. These people who are much more physically gifted than I am, much more mentally in tune with themselves than I am, I can support these people, because look, if I was in this position, look at what you can do. You've got the tools, you've got better physical traits than I have, so go out and use them. And that's why I think it's a case of a coach who's always been at the elite level, always, like, as a player, if a player's always been at the elite level, never really had to struggle for injury, they don't understand the struggles, they don't understand why people can't do anything, they don't understand, and it becomes difficult to coach them. That's why you see elite players don't necessarily become the best coaches in any sport. Then you'll see like some kind of player who, like basketball, might have been a 6-man. You might see a like NFL guy who might have been on a practice squad or something like that. They come and they end up being the best coaches. Even guys who get injured really early in their football career, they just end up being the best coaches, because they've had to deal with some kind of adversity and difficulty in their career. And this is how I overcame it, and I know what the players go through, and I carry that through to my players. If I was coaching myself, what would I want to hear from my coach? I wouldn't want the coach to tell me, well, you're injured now and this is it and this is what we're going to do. That's why I said to Birkan early on, I was like, this injury doesn't define you. You are not injured. You have been injured, but now we're rehabbing. This is it. This is where we are. We're getting you back. You're working back to where you want to be. And if every time something happened in your life that, like, things go wrong and you just stopped. Oh, I lost my job, so I stop. I lost my house, so I stop. If I get sick, or someone in your family gets sick. My dad died of cancer earlier this year. Everything I wanted to do was just like stop. But because I had these guys to support, it gave me an outlet, and it gave me a sort of position where I could just say, look, this is what's happening. Life goes on. They've gone now. I have to deal with that loss. But you people now are who I'm supporting, and I'm passing this on. And then you just have to keep going. Don't stop moving.
It's a great point, because it's all relative and relatable. And I think, for one, a lot of people are gonna find this podcast useful for many reasons, be it injuries or mindset. But yeah, thank you guys for coming on. I think that's been a great episode. For the sake of myself,
pretty dope.
No doubt. we have been the X's and Os. So
Before we
thank
go,
you
where
again.
can we find you, coach?
It's true. It's even true.
So I'm on Instagram and Twitter. Instagram, I'm Oswald_performance. On Twitter, I'm Oswald Performance, but instead of the FOR in performance, it's just a number 4, because if you actually Google Oswald Performance, you get a car company that work on Subarus, that work out the States.
Details.
So if you want some hubcaps or something, get in contact with them. But if you want like strength training, conditioning, or even someone just to help you sort of find where you want to go in life in terms of training, not necessarily for a sport, because I work with general pop as well. Get in touch, email me, my email details are on there, phone call, like let's sort something out.
You heard it from Coach himself. And that has been X's and Os. Keep it locked. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Peace.
Peace.